Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Hello,
hey.
Renee. How's it going?
Not bad. How's it going?
Good, good. I'm excited to finally get this going.
Hmm.
Been a big month for us, and we're happy to finally have yourself and Brad join us later today. Just a
Awesome.
quick introduction for everyone currently with us. My name is Andy. I'm the digital coordinator here at Chrome Canada. I'm joined now by Renee, who is going to be talking about her IBD journey, her life with an ostomy, and kind of how her life has benefited since she's gotten it. So, in honor and celebration of Ostomy Awareness Day, which occurred earlier this month, we're going to have these two fantastic individuals join us to chat about their lives and go from there. So, without further ado, this is Renee from Toronto, Ontario. And Renee, if you wanted to give a quick introduction about yourself, you can jump into things.
Okay, so a little bit about myself. If people who don't know me, my name's Renee, and I have this platform called Beautifully Broken. I've actually had Crohn's for, oh my goodness, I don't even know. I was 9, so it's probably about 27 years now, which seems very, very long when you think about it. And I've had severe Crohn's probably most of my life. So severe to moderate Crohn's most of my life. And I started this page probably a few months before I had my ostomy surgery. So I created Beautifully Broken and just this space just for myself. I know it sounds weird, but all my life, I never really shared about my Crohn's journey with the people that I loved, even like really close friends, simply because when you're growing up with Crohn's and when you're growing up with an invisible illness, it's really hard to find people who relate to you. And during that time, I didn't have many people that I knew personally. So I made the decision not really to share it as much. I just wanted to be normal. So Beautifully Broken was kind of like my coming out, so to speak, but also allowing me to kind of walk through the process of having this ostomy. So I've had the ostomy now for 4 years, almost 4 years, not quite, but almost. Thanks for having me.
Of course, no, it's a pleasure to have you here. So, yeah, we'll kick things off here. So, Renee, we've chatted before. You've had quite the influence, and your story has reached uh, an incredible amount of people on social media, especially. For those who may not know, so you've just kind of shared an IB journey as a whole, but so you're coming up on 4 years with an ostomy. What's something or some things that you'd like to let people know that may not know everything about them, anything
Um,
about them?
I think I was a part of the group of people who um the uh, the the opportunity, I guess, or maybe the conversation of having an ostomy is not new. Like it happened probably 4 years to actually getting the ostomy, and I was scared, right? So I didn't know anything. I don't think I knew a lot of people on social media at that point. So I guess I would tell people about ostomy and getting an ostomy is that, you know, try to reach out to people who have ostomies, because you don't know what you don't know. And I know that's such a cliche word to say, but I was a part of that group of people that, like, I was very like, I can't do this. Like, I'm still young. I have my whole life ahead of me. Like, I was so much into what it looked like. And I missed almost the opportunity of what it could give me. So I lived my whole life being very sick. And having the surgery was, yes, scary. But if I look at myself right now, I was able to kind of get my life back, or what I didn't know. Like, again, I had it for so long, I only knew to be sick. So this time in my life and this period in my life has just been so crazy. It's so wild because I've never been able to kind of just look at food and eat it. It's always like, oh, is this going to come out well? Like, or I'm going to be sick for like 5 days, or like, that was my life. I was so afraid of food. And now it's just like, you just eat. I mean, there are some stuff with ostomies, but for the most part, like, I eat pretty much everything that I couldn't definitely eat when I had Crohn's. So yeah, ask questions and talk to people for sure.
Perfect. So you kind of glanced over it, but would you say the best part about having your ostomy is the fact that you no longer have to be accustomed to this life of, we'll say, quote unquote, suffering, basically? Like you now get to live your life, or you get to take this life back.
Yeah, because I feel like when you're sick for so long, it almost becomes a part of you, and you have to kind of plan your life around that, right? So it's like, like I think the big decision for me when I got my ostomy, the biggest deciding thing was when it affected my social life. So I was staying home a lot. I only had enough spoons to speak, just to kind of like, do one task a day. And that was usually work. So I would just, go to work and kind of and show up, and then at home I'd sleep all day. So it kind of gives you your life back, and you kind of learn a new version of yourself, so to speak, especially when you've had it so long. So yeah, it definitely, that is definitely a plus. And I mean, I don't regret it. I know a lot of people are still going through the motions with ostomies, but for me, it's given me a lot of my life, and certain parts of my life that I never knew existed. So yeah, that would be
That's
the biggest.
incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, that's exactly it. Like there's truly an ugliness that come with these diseases, whether it's colitis or Crohn's, and ostomy does enable people to get that life back. You're able to get out there instead of being tied to your bed or a couch or a hospital bed or whatever it may be. A brief time getting to know each other. I've seen you as a phenomenal proponent for and role model for those in the IBD and ostomy community. What hope do you have for the future for both those communities, or just all of them as a whole?
Um, I think for IBD and ostomy community, I think they're separate, but then they're also the same, right? So I think just even the word ostomy in the IBD community, I still don't, I guess now it's a little different, but growing up and knowing about ostomies and stuff, first of all, I never really called it an ostomy growing up. I called it a bag. So like, and that just shows how much work we need to do to just gain some more visibility around it, and just the conversation around it. I think people are still fearful, and people are still concerned, like, can I still live? Like, will I have a life out of this? Like, I'd rather be sick than walk around with a bag. So I think just the awareness piece, and it's a lot to work, and I've met a bunch of wonderful people through this platform, but there's a lot of work to do, right? There's people still have conversations that are negative around it, and I think that's the biggest thing that I can kind of think of.
True, it's incredible to hear. You've made an incredible effort in advocating for the representation for the ostomy community, especially for people of color. What are you seeing now, and what are you hoping to see in the next few years, or next not so few years?
Um, I still think it needs work, to be honest. Growing up, I think that's part of the reason why I never really felt comfortable sharing, is because I didn't know anyone that looked like me. I always saw like white faces, and I never saw anyone of color. So I think there's still a lot of work to do. And what this platform has given me kind of an opportunity is to meet people who look like me, who aren't necessarily comfortable to share. Like, they will send me messages, and I think we have a lot of work to do. I don't know if a couple years would do it, but if that takes me kind of standing in that gap and kind of meeting other creators who are also of color and standing in that gap, because I'm not the only one. There's a couple of great creators that I've actually met through this platform that are of color as well. I think just keeping the conversation going, like, we're out here, even though there's no research about us, we
Hmm.
exist, right? And we need that, because we need that sense of community as well. So I'm just going to keep talking and showing my ostomy all the time. I guess that's what I'll do.
Exactly. No, as long as you keep
Yeah.
talking, people will listen. We do have a question here from hopefully going to pronounce this correct. Oh, my care kit. So they're wondering, what can't you eat? There's always
Ooh,
a fun question to answer
that's a
with
great
ostomy.
question. Instead of saying what you can't eat, because I can eat a lot. Um, what haven't I tried because I'm fearful is probably the better question. Mushrooms, because I feel like they're not really great to digest. I would say coconut, but in small doses I can have coconut. I've had a blockage before, but I ate like whole pieces of like shredded coconut. Not a good idea. Um, dried apple, I guess. I'm trying to think of the things that have given me blockages. Corn, obviously, I've never tried. Too afraid to try corn.
Right.
But I can have popcorn, which is a controversial statement, because I know some people with ostomies cannot have it. I can. I don't have it a
Right.
lot. I just make sure I chew. But yeah, that's actually a great question, because I can't think of a list. Like, I can't really put in my hand how many things I can't eat. So yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, thank you, my care kit. So we have another one from Devwin. So they're just, I guess, wondering what led you to the surgery. Was it failed medication or anything like that? Just stuff that didn't seem to work out that kind of led you to taking the path of the ostomy surgery.
For me, it was a few things. Like I mentioned earlier, it started to really impact my social life. I ended up just kind of staying home a lot. But the reason why ultimately we went in that direction was because I had a lot of scar tissue that was from a lot of flares. So I had flare after flare after flare. And those who know who's had Crohn's or colitis for a long time, when you have scar tissue, a lot of the times the medication cannot actually recover that. Like you have to remove the scar tissue to allow the rest of your bowel to heal. So the conversation was kind of lingering with my doctor, but he was very, very helpful and very, very kind, I would say, which is hard to find, to have
Mhm.
a doctor that actually cares about your well-being. So he kind of said to me, like, look, we're not able to kind of see if you could have cancer because it's so bad, like the scar tissue is so bad. So I think it's time to start exploring the option of having an ostomy. So again, even though in his head he's like, yeah, she needs this surgery, he kind of just said to me, we have to start exploring this option. So that kind of led to it. I knew it was. I tried everything, okay, as everyone with IBD does. We try everything. I've done the natural path. I've done like not this, no dairy. I've done all of that. And as you know, like diet doesn't cure anything. So, well, for some people, diet doesn't cure. So, yeah, it was kind of just a lot of scar tissue that medication would not
Sure.
work.
Right.
Mhm.
No, it's exactly that's the story. Myself as well. I've had
Mhm.
two resections. I had a temporary ostomy, like I had an ostomy put in simply for that reason. The bowels were that scarred and that strictured that simply had to remove in order for my body to start healing itself again.
Yeah, yeah.
We have another question from It's Nay. I don't. Were you or are you still taking Remicade? That you wanted to ask.
Oh yes. So I did take Remicade. I think I took it for like 2 years. And no, I'm not on any medication and I don't have any symptoms. I mean, here or there, I am a crony that gets arthritis. So sometimes, like when the weather is a little bit, I'll get like a little bit of arthritis pain, but I haven't had any. So, um, knock on some wood. But yeah, I've been very lucky. I did speak to somebody about this, and they said they spoke with someone who has an ostomy, and they also said that it's very rare to have somebody who's also medication and symptom free. So I am aware of this. Like I've been really blessed, and I've been very fortunate. But yeah, no, I'm not on Remicade. Don't have
There
to
you go.
sit
Yeah.
for 3 or 4 hours and watch my favorite show. I don't miss
Yeah.
that. I really
Yeah.
don't
See,
miss
I
that.
actually, yeah,
Yeah.
I had my treatment this morning actually, and they missed the vein on my left arm twice, and then had to go to my right arm. So I have ice packs on both of my elbow areas, which is
Good
always fun.
times. Yeah, good
Well,
times.
there's no more questions. Renee, if there's anything you'd like to wrap up with, just to kind of share with the people we have online, and then we can welcome Brad to the stage. But before then, I'd like for you to, if there's anything final you'd like to say, if there's any last minute kind of questions for Renee, who's been great and help. I know she has a very busy schedule, so it's awesome to have you here for the 15-20 minutes that we've had her.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. I mean, if anyone has any questions, I mean, my page is always open. I think people forget that although I have an ostomy now and I'm not on medication and I don't have symptoms, they forget that I live that life. So I know everything that you can think of, I experience in terms of symptoms. Again, I had like pretty much every manifestation that you can think of for Crohn's. So if you have questions for me, I'd try my best to kind of say like what my experience was. So yeah, I'm still, even though I'm ostomy life, ostomy proud, whatever you want to call it, you can reach out to me. Yeah.
Awesome. Alrighty. Again, thank you so much, Renee. I know you and I will chat soon, but hope everyone was able to grab something. Renee's, like she said, open book, and she's able to reach out. And thank you once again. We know this took a little bit to get together, but this was awesome. And if you're sticking around, Brad is a phenomenal story as well, and we'll get to hear his story. So with that, Renee, we'll say see you later, and we'll have a good weekend.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Uh, we are welcoming Brad to the scene, who's been very active in the chat, so I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to come and chat with us. Everybody, this is Brad. Brad is from Chilliwack, BC,
Yep.
yep, and he is going to be telling us about his story. Very happy to have him. What's awesome to hear. So Renee, we just found out, has had her ostomy for roughly 4 years, and Brad is relatively new. So Brad, before I start talking too much, if you want to give a little bit of background on yourself and your IBD journey.
Okay. Well, I'm not the best at speaking out loud. I do better behind texts and posts and all that. But I've had Crohn's for about 23 years, ostomy for just under 3 months. So I'm new to the ostomy game, but doing well. I bounced out of all biologics, all medical options possible. Went through 3 or 4 biologics in less than 2 years. And I am one of those people that treated an ostomy like it was the last resort. I almost had one 12 years ago or so. And at that point, I thought that was like, that's it. I'm done. This sucks. And I'm honestly proud of myself for how far I've come from then to now, where now I'm just like, hey, this is it. This is permanent. So I should have the best attitude going into it because there's no coming out of it.
Right, exactly. I remember we've chatted before and how you've almost said that you should have had the surgery 12 years, or just the way you've been able to the last few weeks, like you've traveled, you've done your thing, you've been able to live your life healthily and happy, and being able to get back to being Brad.
Yeah, it's been really good. It's been good. I just spent the other weekend there playing with my little nephews, running around for a few hours. I haven't done that in years. It was amazing. All thanks to Sean, my ostomy.
Sean, yes. So though life with Sean is quite new to you, what do you want people to know about your life with the ostomy the last, I guess, I want to say 2 months now you've had it? And for a lot of people, I think there's a lot of confusion about what an ostomy actually is and how it helps. Is there any words of advice or stuff that you'd like to say to help clarify those any of that confusion or anything of that nature?
So I guess I'm one of the lucky ones in the fact that I knew ahead of time that I was going in for this surgery. I know a lot of people kind of get it sprung on them, and I can understand how hard it can be when you're in that type of situation, as I was almost there years ago. I went into this basically trying to have the best attitude I can. I went in, I had my ostomy nurse appointment, and I had my samples. So I chose to wear the bag for 72 hours straight. I put it on me. I tried to figure, this is what it feels like. Obviously, there's no replicating the actual effects of an ostomy, but getting used to it just being there was a start. And then the other thing was definitely reaching out to a community. As I was about, I think, just under a week away, I reached out to a few communities, and they honestly, the ostomy community is so loving and helpful and there to help anyone in need. And they helped me be ready as can be. There's obviously certain things you can't prepare for. You just got to have the best attitude going forward.
Exactly. I think a lot of people with these diseases, I've had Crohn's since I was 9. It's literally just, you have to have the attitude. If it's a big part mentally and physically, the mental affects the physical, and vice versa, obviously. But it's, once you have that attitude that, you know what, as long as I am okay, then you'll get through it. So with all that being said, what would you say is the best part about having one? Actually, we have a couple questions rolling in here I'd like to, before I lose them. So it's Nate asked what the recovery process was for you. How were you post-op?
So I know I'm lucky. I had a really good surgeon. I'm told one of the best non-invasive surgeons in BC. So I know my healing process is went really, really well. due to the fact that they did their best not to overtax my body during surgery. So my recovery process has actually been pretty good. I would say the first couple weeks were a learning process. As anyone does, I had my accidents. I had to figure out the process, get my equipment, my gear, what works, what doesn't. Now I'm 2.5 months through, and honestly, Sean-wise, I don't really notice anything half the time. Like he's part of me, and I've moved on. It's the Barbie butt that likes to still let me know that things are happening.
That's hey, life with IPD. So with all that being said, what would you say is the best part about having it? I know we kind of glanced over it, but in your own words and wholeheartedly, what would you say?
Honestly, spending 23 years doing the IBD roller coaster, as I like to call it, you go up and you're like, oh, things are good, and then it's that, okay, here we go, we're gonna keep going down, and you don't know when that loop's gonna come back up again, and it's just a constant cycle of like rolling the roller coaster. And now I feel like I've hit a nice flat plane where I can concentrate, and I kind of like am excited to get back to the things I was doing before, because every time I started up, Mr. Crohn's would kick in and be like, nah, not now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's you hear that a lot. It's the stability, it's the fear of you're not having to wake up every day. Okay, how many trips to the washroom am I going to take, or what can I eat today? What's going to happen there? So there's a peace of mind that definitely comes with having an ostomy or ileostomy, or like a different sort of pelvic pouch that provides a massive peace of mind and a sense of calm, especially with living with these diseases. The again, so like what type of future do you see for, are you hoping for, or do you wish to see, or are you seeing now that is going to hopefully escalate into something more positive for this community?
So going forward, I went into this community with two goals. One, to learn everything I can, because honestly, I kept ostomy information kind of this to the side. It was like, that's not my area yet. If I get to it, I'll learn, and I'm there. So I'm learning everything, but also trying to use my platform to show people that it's not as scary as some might see. And with that, I did my photo series, which was used for part of the promotional materials, where I'm working on the photos from post or pre-op, post-op, post-recovery, and then or post-recovery 2 months, 6 months, and a year. So I want to show people everything, the good, the bad, but just show them that it's not the end. And as I like to say, it's merely the start. New doors are opening.
Right, and I love that way of thinking about things. It's the more you look at things as closing, you're going to feel trapped, and you're not going to want to get out of that mindset. But if you look at things as a new door opening or new windows opening, it allows you to you're thinking outside of that trapped room, and you're allowing yourself to have a better perspective, and you're allowing yourself to live that life. You've mentioned it time and time again, and here in our meetings, just kind of one-on-one. But community has obviously played a massive role in your life, whether it's one you've started or one you're kind of joining. Plays a big part in healing and understanding and helping IBD patients. How has the community helped you, and with your surgery recovery and all that's come afterwards?
Oh man, the community, especially during the first couple weeks, I was constantly in the communities asking questions like this, like just telling what was going on, even when I had bad days. And they were always there, to give me tips, advice, information, but also just there to talk, like help me out. help others out. And going forward, I know that's the type of thing we need to keep focusing on so that others in the same position feel comfortable. I know myself, I already have a few what seem like soon to be ostomy patients. They're in that window where I was, where it looks like it's going to happen, and they've been turning to me, asking me about all the like different things that are going on, and I've been very happy to help like provide the information they're looking for as from someone that's new, so they get that perspective. And so, as you said, I want to do what they did for me,
Mm-hmm.
give that information, pay it forward, as it's commonly put.
Correct. So yeah, just absolutely hopping off of that. You've mentioned to me that you have it's near and dear to your heart to help out with the younger generations of people dealing with Crohn's or colitis or other forms of IBD. The How are you doing that specifically, I guess? Like how are you jumping in, and how do you plan on furthering that journey?
So dealing with young folks has always been a challenge of mine, something I've always, like, as you mentioned, it's kind of like one of those bucket list goals for my IBD advocacy. I've always wanted to help the younger generation because I felt, as I'm sure many IBD folks have felt years ago, is that we're kind of thrown into the deep end. You get diagnosed and you're just like pushed out a door. It's like, okay, here you go. Like, go figure it out. And there's so many more young people being diagnosed that I want to make sure that we have information there for people in any form that they need, because everyone learns different ways. And I want to be there for people, let them know that, like, as I said before, it's not an end, it's a beginning. And I know how hard it is at a young age when you worry about what others think so much more. Like, that was me. I was that. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to show about it. I got bullied in school. And it took me years before I became, well, to be honest, I went under my comic version self
Right.
for like so long, and I'm only just recently showing my face more often, and I know that helps give a more personal vibe for people. But yeah, going forward, I just want kids and young people to know that they're not alone. I think that's the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone.
I was officially diagnosed when I was 9, but there was an 8-month period where I was undiagnosed. So I'd like to say
Yeah.
I had Crohn's when I was 8. And if 26-year-old Andy could go ahead and talk to 9-year-old Andy, probably pass on the same message that might suck for a little bit, but the little bit is going to soon be very much outweighed by what's going to come next. You're not alone. One of the biggest things about being at Crohn's and Colitis Canada and meeting people like yourself is how incredible this community is and how welcoming and how supportive. And that's one big thing, that regardless of what you're going through in this disease, there's always going to be someone there that kind of knows what you're going through and is going to be able to help. And I think it's important that we continue having conversations just like this one, or one-on-one or behind closed doors, whatever it is, to help out those people that do feel alone, whether they're 8 years old or 65 years old.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Brad, if there's so we're wrapping up here. If there's anything specific or any kind of last words of encouragement or advice you'd like to say, I'll leave it to the crowd here to ask any questions they'd like. But Brad, if there's any final words that you'd like to impart before the weekend here, if stage is yours.
Well, I think I would like to end it off with just the fact of, know that you're not alone. Don't be afraid to talk to someone. If you don't feel comfortable talking to friends or family because you don't think they're going to understand, reach out, find one of the communities. There are so many IBD communities out there with loving people who are there to help every step of the way. So just don't be afraid to speak up, because I know I I internalized so much for so long, and it just felt so good to be able to connect and share, to know that others are going through similar issues. You don't feel so alone.
Right. No, that's exactly. And it's very good words to think on, and I hope everyone here can take that to heart and exercise that. But it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So with that, I'll wrap things up here. Brad, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your
Thanks for
story. I
having me.
know it was a pleasure, and it's been great meeting you. For those here, these conversations will be reposted with captions and subtitles and translated for our French community. But thank you everyone for joining us, Brad, Renee, and everyone here with their comments and questions. Hope you have a phenomenal weekend. And like Brad said, if there's questions that you need answered, be sure to reach out. Crohn's related, colitis related, ostomy related, or otherwise. But have a phenomenal weekend, everybody, and stay safe.
Later.
Cheers, everybody.